So just to keep building on this idea that we've been talking about this evening, about how we can look at this sukkah and look at this experience of Sukkot and really feel our amazing worthiness, I have somebody who has inspired me to take Nishma and prayer on in my life for over a year, Rikva Weingot. She is incredible from drivenday.com. You for sure know her and her partner, Viva Feld. Rivka is a mother of 4. She's a former teacher. Rivka knows all about how to juggle. While commuting an hour each day, raising a new baby, moving to Baltimore, she purchased her first planner and she never looked back. The problem was no planner contained all the sections she needed in a day for her spirituality, for her workouts, for her running. And so she contacted Aviva and together they launched the Driven Day brand. As an avid runner, Rivka's planner is filled with family vacations, marathon training, and Driven Day meetings. If you follow her on Instagram, you know what an inspiring entrepreneur she is, who really helps bring spirituality and health and all of the things that a busy Jewish woman needs into her life every day. So welcome, Rikva. And what we're talking about is Sukkot is a celebration of worthiness. And we are sealed in the book of life already. We finished Yom Kippur. We're enjoying the closeness with Hashem and the Sukkah, like a big hug. How can we cultivate this idea of worthiness? By being more intentional and organized with our everyday tasks. And I asked you to come in here with one tip that can really help people. Welcome.
Sure. So since Driven Day began, we have approached this holiday season, this month-long whirlwind of a season, with lots of different tips and tricks, from posts for Sukkot, scaping and making it beautiful, shopping tips, all of that. We have budgeting principles. When you posed this question to me, over the years, my own particular mindset has shifted a lot. And this year, more than any other year, the concept of simplicity is one that I have personally really adopted a lot, and that I am seeing across the board, because everyone has so much going on. COVID definitely does not help the situation. The fact that the school year starts so early this year definitely does not help the situation. And it was so frustrating for me because I would open up social media and all of the posts were so, unfortunately, negative, to say it that way. I know it's negative to say they were negative, but the reality is so many of them were saying things like, guys, don't be too scared, but Tishrei is almost here. But here's a honey cake recipe. And so it was like, I'm like, that's not the reality that I want my children to think of, that I want my daughter to have when she's raising her own family. That's not the memories that I want my children to have associated with this season. And so really, as a family, as a business owner, as a mom, as an avid health person, we really needed to take a step back and really zoom out and just say less is more. And owning less, doing more, collecting memories, not things, all of those type of quotes were really the ones that resonated with me. And as a person that loves to host and go the nines, and the more side dishes, the better. And well, I also really know how to make this, so let's do that. And well, they don't know that I'm a good baker unless I bake, and all of this type of stuff. We really, really zoomed out, took a step back, and it was a real season so far, and we are continuing with it, of a less is more. So from an organizational Driven Day standpoint, what that looks like is what you first mentioned, of being intentional. And I think anytime a busy season is coming up, there are so many avenues that it can go. And you really need to reflect and say, so what do I want from this? What are the memories I want my children to have? What do I want my days filled with? What are things that bring enjoyment to me that I want to make sure I have on hand? And then start planning backwards. And some doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be planning a lot, but it means that the thoughts that you had were deliberate and intentional. So
yes. yes. And I want everyone to hear that this is the person who is organized, who has all of the sukkah hacks you could possibly need, telling you that the theme this year is you're good how you are. Like, you're worthy, and however you're going to show up to create those intentional memories for yourself, for your family, with how do I want to actually feel while I'm preparing these meals, while I'm serving them, while I'm hosting. Do I want to be an exhausted, overdone mess, but my sukkah looks amazing? or do I want to find a balance?
Right, 1,000%. And there are plenty of people that really do get such joy from doing the tablescape and making their sukkah look beautiful. And they shouldn't be apologetic for wanting that as well. The important point is that you're doing what serves you best and what you enjoy doing and what makes you happy. So when we talk about simplicity and providing joy over the Yom Tov season, I started with really trying to use up what we had for the times that were not Yom Tov. So the suppers leading up to Yom Tov was, more of a cleaning out my fridge type. And I cannot tell you how happy my husband is, because he is definitely a more simple person that way. And it has been so nice to just open up the fridge and be able to see everything, using up sauces that you had, rice. And I even had, one day we came back from a hike as a family. I need to get like supper done in like a half an hour type. And I literally put everything that we had in the fridge in a pot. I think I had half a pan of chicken with couscous that had some vegetables in it. I dumped a can of tomato sauce in it. I had some meat from Shabbat I cubed. It was devoured, and no one was like, oh, what's my rice again? Like, it was delicious. So a lot of times I'll think like leftovers automatically, or trying to use up what you have will lead, especially your older kids, kind of realizing, and they loved it. So it can be something very special.
Not only that, but you took it and leveled up another area of your life, which is your relationship. And I think that that's the key when we're really being intentional and specific in what we're doing, is we do need organization and lists, but sometimes the list isn't to do more. It's to say what actually belongs on my list and why. Getting stuff out of the fridge makes it easier, it makes it better, but also makes my husband happy. And that feels really good too.
And he's a really smart guy, and I respect him so much. And he's absolutely right. It is so nice to open up the fridge and not see a ton of stuff all the time. And it is so nice to not be spending so much money on groceries and now have that for other things that are, more important to us. It's really nice that when you're cleaning up a meal on Yom Tov, it's not 16 serving platters, it's 2. It's really nice to not be throwing things in the garbage. He was beyond right. I agree with him. It's just an active thing on my end that I have to not make that extra dish. I have to consciously not. But that piggybacks on what you were saying, which is planning doesn't necessarily mean that you're planning to do stuff. Planning can also be reflecting, being intentional, being forward thinking, and just thinking things through.
And I love what you just said about what you're not doing, that as a list of what we're doing is almost as important as a list of what we're not going to do. If I find myself yelling at my kids because they're not putting up the sukkah decorations in the style I want, okay, maybe that needs to go down a notch in my level of importance. Or, I want to bake the last dessert that I know my kid really likes, but the amount of tension in the house to bake that is certainly not what they would choose if they had to pick between one of these two things. Right now, getting a hug, always the most important thing. So how can we use your planners? One of the things I have to share with everybody is you're a big proponent of Nishmat. And a year ago, Rosh Hashanah, during a series to May Tshuva, I said, I really miss davening on a regular basis. And I saw you posting about Nishmat. And I said, I could do 40 days this month. And that led to a year of me really being invested in davening, which really took everything to a higher level for me this year in all areas of life. So that was a perfect small thing that I got from you and that Nishmat download they can get at your website for free, drivenday.com. But what's a tool you have around organization, around Sukkot, that can help people get really specific as to how to be intentional?
Our Tishrei principles are by far our most popular, most downloaded principle ever. Sorry, the lighting is funny. There you go. So that is downloaded on the website. It's 9 pages, and it really hones in on all the specifics of the holiday, because it's very easy to say, I want to do less and everything like that. And then all of a sudden what happens if you don't have your site candle, the clothing is still at the cleaner last minute. You wanted to get your shingles done before and you didn't. So you can be simple and you can be intentional as long as you are taking the time to do that. So having some type of plain notebook, a random pad of paper, our Tishrei principle, anything like that, just to make sure that all of your, I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, is always going to be number one, regardless of how much or how little you're doing.
And it's always going to make you go back and recheck what's intentional as you're going through your list. And you're like, yeah, you know what? When I have my sheitel done, or when I have that dress pressed, I feel so much better as I'm going through, and it affects every other area of the chag. And that is really important. It's not selfish. It's not small. It's not anything. It's showing that I'm showing up in a worthy way. It's in the answer. And yeah.
I had a friend who does not get dressed very often. She is so sensory, and the holiday season was coming up. She's expecting, and she was like, I need to get myself like a maxi dress, like a good robe. So it's very important to be you and do you. And then before we're thinking with how to go about that. So it's not always that being this planner person is going to mean that you're wearing a wig and you look glamour, this, that, and the other. It can be that you have that really comfortable maxi dress that like really enhanced your day. And
it's again, my nails. I always get a new.
Yeah, girl. I literally had my facial done for Yantif, and I'm putting it on for this interview, and then it's my baseball cap for my run. So like, just, but again, having it done in time and doing all that type of stuff. If she would have thought the day of, oh, I would love to have a robe, that wouldn't have necessarily worked, even though what you wanted was just to be cozy. And you know, people that are intentional and forward thinking are not necessarily always super glamour fancy. It's that their lives are running the way that they would ideally want their lives to run.
And authentic and work, like, because who you are, you're worthy of showing that version of yourself and not having to compare to the person who's super glamorous, because that's them. Instead, love them for the sparkle that they bring, because your energy is unique and special. When you bring that into your sukkah, that's the person who got sealed for an amazing new year, Yom Kippur. That's who we want to see.
Yes. And I think that kind of looking at the spirituality aspect of the holiday and thinking, so spiritually, what do I want from this as a mother, you know? And for me, I always felt like I just need that one moment where I feel like I connected to Hashem over it, either during the shofar or during Avinu Malkinu, or my kids are playing outside and I'm davening for a minute, something. And then other people may need to visit a relative they haven't seen in a long time, and that's what brings them meaning. But just kind of, again, taking that step back and just thinking, right, what will make this spiritually a connection for me is also something that goes along with forward thinking and intentional living and all of that.
Thank you so much for your time and your energy. And I'm going to put your links up so people can get that Tishrei printable right here on the side. And thank you, and have an amazing, amazing Sukkot.
You too. Enjoy Israel. You're so lucky.
So blessed. Bye-bye.